A recent report by the Daily Mail on October 5th revealed that the Chinese authorities suspended the water supply to the British embassy in Beijing, allegedly to pressure the UK government to approve China's plan to build a new mega embassy in London by October 21st. British diplomats are working in a dilapidated embassy building, with some offices relocated to a converted squash court. A source stated, "Sometimes our water supply just disappears. They're using our embassy's condition to push for their own embassy project. Our facilities need major renovations, which have been overlooked. This conduct is neither friendly nor consistent with diplomatic norms." The suspension of the water supply, if confirmed, violates the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, which obligates the host country to ensure basic services like utilities for embassy premises. This is not merely a service disruption, but a calculated move by Chinese authorities to pressure the UK. The incident has sparked debate in diplomatic circles and among overseas Chinese communities, with some drawing parallels to the Boxer Rebellion of 1900. During that period, the British legation in Beijing, located in Dongjiamin Lane, was a primary target of anti-foreign attacks by the Boxers, who were tacitly supported by the Empress. The violent siege resulted in significant casualties and property damage, escalating Western intervention and hastening the Qing dynasty's collapse. Commentators on social media noted the historical irony, suggesting that the current dispute echoes past diplomatic tensions between China and the West. On X, commentator Li Chengpeng sarcastically remarked, "Cutting off water isn't enough to show the British our might. We should send the Boxers, Gang Yi and Dong Fuxiang, to Dongjiamin Lane using tactics like sieges, arson, supply blockades, and midnight firecrackers to keep the foreigners awake all night." He further suggested surrounding the British embassy with barbecue, hot pot, and stinky tofu stalls to create an unbearable environment. Li also proposed a nationwide selection of square dance teams from 4 regions, East, West, South, and North, to perform popular songs and dances outside the embassy 24/7. He claimed that within 2 weeks, the British would leave, allowing a collective performance of a song mocking imperialism. Li Chengpeng's satirical post, which garnered over 240,000 views, was widely discussed for its sharp critique of China's wolf warrior diplomacy. Some online users suggested that the Chinese embassy in the UK should face similar disruptions, such as water and electricity cutoffs. They argue that countering these tactics requires reciprocal measures, including investigating the legitimacy of assets held by Chinese officials and their families in the UK. These reactions highlight a broader metaphor, drawing parallels between today's wolf warrior diplomacy and the Boxer Rebellion of over a century ago, which hastened the Qing dynasty's collapse. Some suggest that such provocations could backfire, intensifying China's internal and external challenges and potentially destabilizing its government, an outcome many overseas Chinese reportedly hope for. The British Embassy in Beijing, now located at 11 Guanghua Road in Chaoyang District, was constructed by Chinese authorities in the first embassy district and has been in use since September 1959. It includes an office building, a residence, a garden, and ancillary facilities. During the Cultural Revolution in 1967, the embassy faced a major incident when Red Guards surrounded and set fire to the compound, causing a global diplomatic scandal. Though repaired, the aging facilities now experience frequent issues with water, electricity, and security systems. In 2020, the British government approved a £100 million refurbishment contract to modernize the embassy's facilities and security, ensuring safe operations for diplomatic staff. However, Chinese authorities have repeatedly delayed the project with various excuses, revealing their pattern of administrative obstruction. According to a Guardian report from November 2024, over the past year, Beijing authorities have continuously obstructed the UK's application to rebuild its embassy in China, publicly citing the rejection of its proposed new embassy in London by the local council as a reason. 3 UK sources familiar with the negotiations told The Guardian that Chinese authorities have elevated the London embassy project into a key bargaining chip in bilateral relations, effectively using it as leverage. One source, who participated in discussions during the Conservative government, stated bluntly, "Until that one gets moving, the British embassy in Beijing won't move. The grounds for turning it down were pretty spurious. It came about more because they were so angry that planning permission for the Chinese embassy in London was just turned down without any support. Another source added, they see it as a reciprocal type thing where both people want changes, but our system doesn't really work quite as centrally as theirs does. The dispute began in 2018 when China purchased the former Royal Mint site opposite the Tower of London for £255 billion to build a super embassy spanning about 620,000 square feet, 10 times the size of its current London embassy. The project includes office buildings, 225 residential units, and a cultural exchange center. If completed, it would be the UK's largest foreign embassy and China's largest diplomatic facility in Europe. The project also involves renovating and partially rebuilding two Grade II listed buildings, the Johnson Smirk Building and a Siemens Registry, and constructing underground tunnels linking four buildings, resembling an underground complex. Since the site's purchase, the project has faced ongoing opposition from local council members and residents, primarily over safety concerns. China's treatment of Uyghurs in Xinjiang, Tibet, Hong Kong, Falun Gong practitioners, and dissidents has led to frequent protests around its global embassies and consulates. Residents fear the new embassy could significantly increase such demonstrations in the area. In late 2022, Tower Hamlets Council rejected the proposal, citing resident safety and heritage preservation. With nearly 40% of the district's population being Muslim, many are critical of China's actions in Xinjiang. The October 2022 incident, where Hong Kong protesters were reportedly assaulted by officials at the Chinese consulate in Manchester, heightened local opposition, with residents and Hong Kong expatriates viewing the new embassy as a potential monitoring hub. UK and US officials have warned that the site's strategic location, overlooking the Tower of London and near major data and financial infrastructure, could make it a hub for Chinese intelligence activities. The US fears it could serve as a surveillance outpost, threatening global financial networks from London to Wall Street. Reports suggest that the White House views the UK's rejection of the proposal as a key condition for UK-US trade agreements. Opposition from residents, council members, and pro-democracy Hong Kong groups in the UK has stalled the project for years. After the Labour Party took power in July 2024, Chinese authorities resubmitted the same application in August. On August 23, 2024, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who raised the embassy project during the call. In mid-October 2024, the UK Foreign Secretary visited China, after which Deputy Prime Minister and Secretary of State for Housing, Communities, and Local Government Angela Rayner took over the case from the local council. Unexpectedly, parts of the Chinese proposal's design plans were redacted. A letter obtained by the Press Association shows Angela Rayner requesting an explanation from the Chinese embassy's planning consultants about the obscured sections. DP9, the consultancy handling the planning, stated that their client deemed full internal layouts inappropriate but provided supplementary plans with an acceptable level of detail. The UK Housing Department extended the project's decision deadline from September 9 to October 21 to review the response. A Chinese embassy spokesperson expressed serious concern over the delay, emphasizing the proposal's high quality. Conservative MP Ian Duncan Smith called Beijing's water cutoff at the British Embassy a shocking tactic, noting that the UK government appears ready to consider China's proposed mega embassy despite known security risks. The water cutoff reflects a coercive approach. If China's demands are not met, it retaliates. This move suggests not just arrogance, but a disregard for international norms. Diplomacy typically rests on etiquette and reciprocity, but China often replaces these with direct pressure and assertive tactics. Since Xi Jinping's rise, China's diplomacy has grown more assertive, using economic leverage and infrastructure control to pressure other nations, often challenging diplomatic norms by directly confronting foreign leaders. On October 4th, Sanae Takaichi won a decisive victory in Japan's Liberal Democratic Party leadership election, positioning her to become Japan's first female prime minister. This milestone was met with a swift reaction from China, including state media smear campaigns and nationalist online rhetoric, framing her election as a trigger for China-Japan confrontation to incite fear and hostility. Sanae Takaichi's conservative stance, including her Yasukuni Shrine visits, support for constitutional reforms to strengthen Japan's military, and her 2024 Taiwan visit, where she stated, "An incident in Taiwan is an incident for Japan," has drawn China's ire. After her election, she pledged to review immigration policies and tighten foreign land purchase regulations to protect Japanese sovereignty. Chinese state media, including CCTV News, labeled her a female Abe and right-wing politician, criticizing her shrine visits and hardline stance, warning that her policies could intensify China-Japan friction. The Global Times, citing experts, claiming her extreme conservatism could challenge bilateral relations, hinting that economic decoupling or actions on Taiwan and the South China Sea could increase tensions. This criticism extends to China's controlled online platforms, where Sanae Takaichi trended on Weibo and Baidu, flooded with negative comments. One user on CCTV News' discussion board wrote, "She'll get a slap soon," gaining thousands of likes. Others posted, "Let China and Japan clash," and "No surrender this time," reflecting a provocative online atmosphere. These comments, likely driven by China's 50-cent army and amplified through algorithms, aim to stoke nationalism and pressure Japan's leadership. The paper's video, who is Sanae Takaichi, portrayed her as a right-wing politician, accusing her of denying Japan's wartime history, promoting pro-Hitler books, and hyping a China threat, claims often exaggerated or taken out of context to inflame historical tensions. China's approach involves framing leaders like Takaichi as adversaries to influence policy through public pressure. Reuters noted China's uniquely hostile response, from the foreign ministry's close monitoring to online calls for confrontation, resembling psychological warfare rather than diplomacy. If Takaichi pursues tough policies, China may escalate with economic measures or South China Sea actions. Yet, Japan's stock market soared to 47,000 points after her election, signaling investor confidence in her pro-business policies. In Hong Kong, in September 2024, new U.S. Consul General Julie Ida faced a formal protest from China's Foreign Ministry representative Cui Jianchun. Cui demanded adherence to the 4 No's, not meeting certain individuals, not engaging with anti-China or pro-democracy activists, not supporting anti-China activities, and not interfering in Hong Kong's national security cases. Ida's welcome reception, attended by Arsene Chen and Emily Lau, drew attacks from pro-Beijing media like Ta Kung Pao and Wen Wei Po, amplified by the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. Chief Executive John Lee warned against destructive activities and interference. Cui, in a September 23rd meeting, urged the U.S. to lift Hong Kong sanctions, followed by a sterner meeting a week later. Lu Jiajia, an advisor, called this Beijing's expression of unease, especially with the Jimmy Lai case nearing a verdict. The 4 No's imposed restrictions on foreign diplomats, limiting Hong Kong's open engagement. Critics say this violates the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, which ensure consular freedom to meet local contacts. Ida's diplomatic reception was labeled anti-China, reflecting Beijing's view that Hong Kong is an internal matter where foreign consuls must act as compliant guests. A senior U.S. State Department official told Reuters, U.S. diplomats promote national interests globally, a standard practice worldwide. In September 2018, at the Pacific Islands Forum in Nauru, Chinese envoy Mao Jiaoshu interrupted a meeting to criticize Taiwan's participation, angering Nauru's president David Adeang, who called Mao rude and bullying. Mao left abruptly. The Guardian reported this followed Nauru's shift from Taiwan to China, though Beijing remained dissatisfied with Taiwan's observer status. Pacific Islands, key to China's Belt and Road Initiative, saw Mao's actions expose Beijing's disregard for procedural norms. The PIF Secretariat called it an unexpected incident, but it aligns with China's debt diplomacy. Nations like the Solomon Islands and Kiribati, after accepting Chinese loans, face continued pressure. In 2021, Guyana closed Taiwan's office under Chinese influence, which Taiwan's foreign minister called bullying. These cases reveal China's diplomatic pattern, exploiting weaker nations, using economic leverage and coercive tactics. Xi Jinping's wolf warrior diplomacy mirrors domestic control tactics, deflecting internal issues through external aggression. These are not isolated incidents, but systemic behaviors. Democratic nations must avoid appeasement and collaborate to counter these tactics and uphold international norms.